Have you ever thought about something and then the next moment, boom, that thing shows up right in front of you? Is your brain playing tricks on you? Or could it be something more, like synchronicity, giving you signs, guiding you to do something? In this video, I'm going to show you the science behind these moments.
The science of synchronicity. Real signs or just in your head?
So what exactly is synchronicity? The famous psychologist Carl Jung created this term to describe those moments when coincidences feel too meaningful to be random. We're talking about events that are not exactly linked by cause and effect, but seems too mysterious and personal in a way that hits us in a deep personal level. Here's a classic example. Carl Jung once had a lady patient who was skeptical of psychotherapy. One day, she told him about a dream she had featuring a golden scarab beetle. Just then, a real beetle that looked exactly like it flew into the room. He handed it to her and said, "Here's your beetle." That moment cracked through her resistance. The timing was so perfect and it hit her emotionally and changed something deep inside her that made her open to psychotherapy. And that's what makes synchronicity so powerful. It's about those personal meaning behind those moments. They seem speaking directly to you, like life is handing you a message and urging you to do something wrapped in a mystery. But here is the surprising part. Scientific research shows that these experiences are more common than we think. Way back in 1993, a newspaper study asked nearly 1,000 people in London if they ever had a meaningful coincidence, and 84% said yes. Fast forward to 2009. Another study found that synchronicity shows up in big life moments, especially around relationship, career moments, or times of crisis. You've probably heard examples like these. You think of someone, and out of the blue, they call. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time to meet someone important. You stumbled across the exact YouTube video, the right podcast, or the right message you needed to hear. Pretty wild, right? But here is where it gets even more interesting. People who notice this experience often say they're more satisfied with their life. They also report having a stronger sense of purpose and direction. So yeah, there are plenty of academic research out there saying that synchronicity is a real phenomenon. But some people still say it's just in your head. Just your brain making up stuff to make them feel more meaningful, when it's really just coincidence. This is where something called the Baader-Meinhof effect comes in. It's also called the frequency illusion. So here's how Baader-Meinhof effect works. You learn a new word, and then suddenly it's popping up everywhere. Or you decide to buy a certain car, and now it's like the exact model is stalking you on every street corner. It feels like life is giving you a sign, right? But what's actually going on is your brain has just flipped a switch. There's a part of your brain called the Reticular Activating System, or RAS for short. It's basically the internal camera in your brain. It filters out most of the noises around you and zooms in on what seems important. And that's exactly why companies like Coca-Cola spend millions on advertising to make sure you see their ads over and over again. Because the more you are exposed to something, the more likely your brain is to notice it everywhere, even if it's always there. So yes, Baader-Meinhof effects explains why we notice certain things more often. But here's the thing. Synchronicity isn't just about noticing something more often. It's about those mysterious and holy crap moments of perfect timing, the one that can actually change your life. So, how can you tell the difference between a genuine synchronicity and a Baader-Meinhof brain illusion? Here are 3 ways. First, synchronicity isn't just frequent, it's perfectly timed. The Baader-Meinhof effect explains why something seems to pop up everywhere. Like when you learn a new word and start hearing it constantly. But it doesn't explain why the perfect person, the perfect answer, and the perfect opportunity shows up at the exact moments you need it the most. One of my research participants shared a story that still gives me the chills. He told me that every time he gossiped about someone behind their back, the exact person would unexpectedly show up in front of him immediately. It happened so often, he began to wonder, was this just coincidence? Or was something pushing me to face the consequences of my words? That's not just a brain trick. A Baader-Meinhof effect can't make someone walk through the door the moment you badmouth them. That's not just frequent, it's flawless timing. Second, synchronicity hits you in a deep personal level. Sure, Baader-Meinhof effects can make something feel more frequent. But synchronicity, it hits differently. You don't just notice it, you feel it deeply. There's often a sense that these moments meant something, like it's connected to a bigger story that you don't even realize that you are living. So in my last video, click here, I talked about how a random YouTube video, perfectly timed, made me decide on doing my final year master's degree dissertation on synchronicity. And that decision, it made me achieve the top mark of my class, changed my career, and even led me creating this video. That wasn't just seeing something more often. That was a moment so meaningful to me that changed everything. And 3, synchronicity is a chained event, not just a one-off moment. The Baader-Meinhof effects usually happen with just one thing, a word, an image, a symbol that suddenly stands out more. But synchronicity is when multiple, unrelated events come together in a way that feels almost impossible. So let's go back to my YouTube story. For that moment to change my life, a bunch of unlikely things had to line up perfectly. 1. That specific video had to randomly show up on my YouTube homepage. 2. The title of that video had to be called Synchronicity, that matched the very concept I heard about from the webinar the previous day. 3. The video's mid-chapter name, Heart Opening, had to be the exact same words that another student mentioned in the webinar that stood out to me, which I thought was totally unrelated to synchronicity. And finally, the video had to appear the next morning after the webinar, while I was still thinking about which research topic to choose for my dissertation. If even one of these pieces had been missing, I wouldn't have written my dissertation on synchronicity. I might not have moved away from the corporate career I'd been on, and I wouldn't be here now, sharing this story with you. So these are not just my brain noticing pattern. These are a string of unlikely events that came together so mysteriously. So what's the biggest difference between a synchronicity and a Baader-Meinhof brain illusion? I think, in the end, it came down to this. Baader-Meinhof effect is a shift in what you notice, but synchronicity is a shift in your life. Baader-Meinhof makes you notice something more, but synchronicity changes everything. And here are some proofs. A study found that 74% of professionals said a meaningful coincidence or a chance event shaped their career path. Another study showed that people who saw their coincidences as meaningful reported greater job satisfaction, higher motivation and engagement, and a deeper sense of purpose. So now you know the difference between a Baader-Meinhof brain illusion and a real synchronicity. Here's a question to think differently about. Have you ever had a moment that felt like a sign, but you brushed it off? What if that moment wasn't random? Yes, our minds are wired to find patterns even when none exist. But real synchronicities show up when you needed them. They carry deep personal meaning in a mysterious way you can't explain. When that happens, maybe life isn't random at all. Maybe you were never alone in your life. Maybe something has been guiding and supporting you every step of the way in your journey. So let me know in the comments below if you ever experienced a meaningful synchronicity before, and if that has changed your life. And if this video has helped you to see synchronicity in a new way, please click the like button and subscribe. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.